Hey, happy Wednesday, everybody. My name is Melanie Richmond. I am your well-being coach at True North Wellbeing Coaching. And we have a very special guest today, Haley Carlson, who is also a mindset coach and a wellness coach. So we're really excited to have her today. And our topic for today is talking about our higher self. So before we jump into that component, I just wanted to thank the community for the participation in my first 2-day workshop that happened on Monday and Tuesday. And if you missed out on that workshop, it was amazing. There was some great discussions and insight. So you can still catch the replays. Just send me a message and I can send you some links. The other thing we have going on is we have a retreat at the end of the month. So if you are in Canada, Western Canada, or you're ready to fly, we have a yoga retreat happening and a mindset retreat. So there's still a few spots left. So I hope to see some of you there. All right. So Haley, I've never had you on the show before.
I know. Thank you so much for having me,
Yeah.
Melanie.
And I know we have a lot of similarities in our story. Like you've worked in the corporate world, you had some, aha moments and transformations that happened. So maybe if you can kind of set the stage and let our audience know a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you again for having me. My journey started, I started in corporate in New York, on Wall Street, actually, at a very young age. I was 19, 20 as I was putting myself through college. And I kind of fell backwards into corporate. It just was what I thought I was supposed to be doing. And then I did that for a few years, but then I really, the majority of my career was spent in the media and entertainment industry, climbing that corporate ladder, working for large media companies in various revenue generating positions, mostly in like sales and marketing, large scale event productions as well. And so, I like I said, I did what I thought I was supposed to be doing, which is why, I love the topic of just goal setting, because it was literally, I did every step of what I thought everyone, wanted for me, what I thought I wanted for myself as well, in order to achieve success, right? Like whatever success was, I thought of it, at that time.
And I'll just put a pause right there. And I think you said two really key things. It's like what you thought you needed to be doing, or
right.
society, something external.
Exactly.
And also that definition of success, was that internal or was that an external definition? So some really key points that you mentioned right now.
Yeah. Yeah. It was definitely an external definition of success.
Yeah. I've been there. Guilty.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Yeah. And so, I was in New York for about 11 years. I had my first child in New York, and then eventually we moved back to the Midwest, and I'm in Chicago now. I grew up, outside of the city, but I'm in the city now, and I loved every moment of the experience that I had and what I did while I was doing what I was doing. But it was probably in the last like 5 or 6 years, I started to kind of see the light a little bit, that it didn't matter how, much I earned or what the title was or how big the territory or the teams were. The realization was that the higher I went, really in any organization, the more burnout I experienced, stress, anxiety, burnout of not just, myself to some degree, but of the teams I managed, and also of the, C-level executive teams that I work closely with. It just, there was just something wasn't aligning, something wasn't matching up. And
right. So would you say like the culture within those organizations, you don't have to name them, but was the culture very much so about being ultra productive all the time? And from the senior leadership side, it was really coming down to production versus, having that sense of well-being and, creating a lasting, sustainable business versus something that like people were burning out left, right, and center.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. We were working, myself, I managed a team. At one point I had 6 different markets, across the country, across the US, and easily 10 to 20 people within each market. And it was, my teams were working again, easily like 50, 60-hour weeks. And it's just not sustainable.
Yeah.
You know? And so, I'd always heard there was this little voice in the back of my head. I think it was Wayne Dyer, Dr. Wayne Dyer. I remember very clearly driving in my car and listening to an audio of his, and where he said, do what you love and don't worry about the money. Like the money will follow. Right. And so that like, stood out with me. Like it really stuck in my mind. And so I started to, do that search and ask those questions. Like, what do I want? Like, what do I really want? What am I here to do? And, and even as, yeah, go ahead.
And I would even say, like, in society, we kind of have this, this mindset that isn't correct, in that saying, if you go after what your passion is, that should be your hobby or side project.
Exactly.
It shouldn't be like your full-time gig. And I am a strong believer in that when you fully show up with what you truly are passionate about, what you love, that energy comes forth in like a massive way. And that's where you start really becoming a disruptor in the market. And you can see some really massive changes happening and big transformation, because really the way we work today is not what's going to keep us in business. It's really about, being adaptable and looking at the future. So I absolutely love that you came to that realization. And I'm going to have to look up this Dr. Dyer that you're talking about.
Yeah. He's no longer with us, but you'll find him. Like he's got several books out, and he's just was very pivotal in my growth for sure. And you said something there about like the energy, like we're taught, most of us, I think, for the, just, not to overgeneralize, but most of us are taught to, as we're children, to stop daydreaming, right? Stop using our imagination and, study, we go to school, and we just take in all this information. And, it's very rare, I have found, that people will really stop and ask themselves the question, okay, well, what do I want? Like, what do I want? And like you said, like where that energy is, like what we put our energy on expands and grows.
Yeah.
Right. And so, and if you think of like any, entertainer, musician, actor, artist, that's their passion, right? Like that is, and that's that's using your imagination. And so, and I think especially in the corporate world, it's not something that is encouraged. I'm actually starting to see it a little bit more now, right? With everything.
Yeah, I think with the like diversity, equity, inclusion movement, that's been awesome and amazing to see. And happy Pride Month as well. I forgot to mention that at the start. We have a big flag in our window that my husband was super excited to put up this year.
I love it.
But what you said about that, like playfulness and those big dreams and, not having a fixed mindset, but really an expansive growth mindset. As a child, you see that, like, and I have a little one. I know yours are a little bit older now. I think you have 3, you said, right?
Yeah, I do. I have 2 teenagers, and then my youngest is she'll be 7 on Saturday, actually.
Yeah.
So,
well, the nice thing about transforming into becoming a parent, I've noticed that inner child of me has really come out.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to bring that more into the workforce, because people want to go to work and have fun. Like, you don't want to go to work and say it's a grind. Oh, I'm not excited to go in on Monday or whatever that is. And you've heard that, like everybody's heard that working in corporate. So when you can bring kind of that, that fun slice of yourself into it, that's where you stand out. And that's where the new ideas can come in and that.
Absolutely. That's the magic, right? Like that's the magic. Absolutely. And we should, like, we're spending our time anyway. Like we should, love what we do. Right. And so, but a lot of us aren't taught that, and so that's what I started to do. Right. I like not even knowing that I was doing it. I started to go
became a magician for others to find their magic.
Yeah. And like, I went into my own imagination to think of like, what do I want to create? And I have always been passionate about health and wellness. And so I was like, I don't know what it looks like. I don't know the how, but I want to start my own health and wellness business.
Yeah.
And so that was that's where I went in that direction of, I started taking courses, things like stress reduction in the workforce through yoga and
Mhm.
meditation. I did
Yeah.
a lot of different trainings, I became a health and wellness coach through the Institute for Integrative Nutrition first. It was a year-long nutrition program, and then a yoga teacher. I know
Yeah.
that we have that in common, meditation instructor. And for years, like literally for years, it was probably, I know my friends and family were like, what are you doing? Like, are you ever going to actually do what you're getting trained to do? It looked like I was just doing a lot of different things,
Yeah.
but eventually, like through proper coaching and mentorship is when it all came together.
Yeah, I had
So,
similar friends asking you the same question because they did quite a bit of mindfulness, meditation, yoga trainings, and I
mhm.
love it. Like I'll keep doing it throughout my lifetime.
Yeah.
And some people were asking me like, oh, are you going to leave the engineering field and do that full
Mhm.
time? And I seriously considered it at one point. But then I realized that a lot of what I learned, what I was actually using more in my
Mhm.
corporate world
Mhm.
and how I was showing up and how I was dealing with,
Exactly.
resistance or being uncomfortable,
Mhm.
and things like that that you learn through those mindfulness practices. And then I realized when I started my well-being coaching business is I want to teach others how to use those techniques so that they can tap into being the best version of themselves, which is kind of what we're
Mhm.
talking about today, which is your higher self. So maybe
Absolutely.
if you could give us your definition of what your higher self is.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, my definition is, like when you really go inside and it kind of starts, it doesn't kind of, it does start with goal setting. It starts with really going inside, getting very clear on what it is that you want and where you want to go. And then from there, I coach on this concept that actually, learned from one of my favorite teachers, Neville Goddard, is that you want to live from the end. You want to live from the goal fulfilled, right?
Mm-hmm.
From the end versus just thinking of the goal.
Yeah.
So, because when we live from the end, like we're actually becoming that person at having achieved that high level goal versus just thinking of the goal, and that there's like a disconnection there, right? Like you're not
Mm-hmm.
yet which you are saying that you want to be. And when we're disconnected from that, it becomes it just, the process takes a little longer to achieve it. But
So
I,
I
you
just want
know,
to make sure viewers caught that. So let's say you have your dream of, that person you want to be or that thing that you want in your life or,
mhm,
something, whatever that goal is to live from that place that you've achieved it, that you're there today.
yeah. Mhm,
And that's so
yeah.
powerful because so many of us think of, oh, I still want to get there. I want to get there. And it's always projected in the
Mhm,
future. Yeah.
exactly.
All right. So you
Oh,
talked a
sorry.
little bit about, oh, did you want to say anything else
Sorry,
about?
no, there's a little bit of a delay there. I didn't know if you were still. Yeah, no, I think like that, and that's a really challenging concept. It can be for people to understand,
Mhm.
right? Because like it's not something that we're taught to do, right? We're not taught in school how to do that. And so it really becomes about, living in your imagination more often than not throughout the day. And our imagination is one of our six higher mental faculties. And so, to train yourself and your mindset, right? That mental muscle, and how to do that, like how to live from the end, how to live from the goal achieved is really what helps accelerate that. And so, but it's not, it really, you have to deny what your five senses are telling you, right? You have your conscious mind and your subconscious mind.
Mhm.
And your conscious mind is when you live, like you're living from what you see, hear, smell, taste, and touch,
Mhm.
right? So if, let's say, you have a financial goal and the bank account, or your portfolio doesn't indicate, that is possible or within reach right now. Most people will look at their results and feel like, like, oh, I'm not that which I, want to be. And then a lot of times people will give up on that goal because they don't see it, the manifestation of it coming, on the physical plane. And so, yeah. And so when you learn to live from your higher mental faculties more often than not, and again, imagination is one of them, that's when you can accelerate the process.
Yeah. No, that sounds like amazing work that you do. And would that tap into kind of the different levels of goal setting that you also work on?
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So I'll just use my example as, as one. So for me, like the yoga training, that was definitely a goal. So I coach on 3 different levels of goal setting. I have what you call your A type goals, your B type goals, and your C type goals. Very simple, right?
Mm-hmm.
So an A type goal is something that you already know how to achieve, like you've already done it, right? It would be like if let's say you wanted to buy a new car and you decide, and you already have a car, but you want to get a new one. And like, I actually literally just did this. I used to have one car, and then I just wanted to get a new one. I didn't have this high goal for a car. I just wanted to get a new car that was very similar to what I had already had. And so that was a goal. It was something that I wanted, but it's an A type goal.
Yeah.
Okay. B type goals are goals that, if you write out all the steps and everything happens just so, like, you probably can achieve it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You might not know every detail, but I use like my yoga teacher training as an example. Like, it had been a goal of mine for over 10 years to invest the time, invest the money. It took carving out time from my kids, from work. I was working full time at the time. And so, but I was able to kind of figure it out, right? It was something that I really wanted, but I could figure it out. So where I coach within is what I call C-type goals. And these are the goals where you literally remove the word how. If you know how to accomplish it, it's not the right goal. And the reason for that is that it's not about the goal. Like, in the end, it really doesn't become about the goal. It's about who you become in the process.
Mm-hmm.
And so goals should be designed to bring more of who you are, like the essence of who you are, to the surface. Like, that's really why we set goals.
And this reminds me of, like, in yoga, like, a lot of people look at these Instagrams or whatever. They see these people doing these amazing poses.
Yeah.
But the pose is not the goal. Really,
That's
it's
exactly
the process of it, and
Yes.
how you are in that moment. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great example, because my story with that is, I remember my very first day of the teacher training, and they went around the room. We all sat in a circle, and the head teacher asked, okay, who here wants to teach at the end of this training? And who here is just here to deepen your practice?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember thinking at the time, it was before all of the mindset work that I've now done. I remember thinking, like, well, gosh, why would you invest all this time and money if you didn't want to teach? And that was my awareness at the time.
Right.
And my attitude. And then of course, like, by the end of the training, and I thought too, I was like, okay, if I'll be able to do X, Y, and Z pose at the end. But in the end, that was not at all what it was about.
Yeah.
And I actually it became a very therapeutic journey and process to just, heal from some past trauma and whatnot, and that I didn't even know was really still there. So yeah, that's a great example.
And I find it such powerful work when you do the work inside.
Yeah.
Uncovering the layers that might have been buried and process them, then you become available to help others.
Absolutely.
And that's why I love the work that we do with coaching and mindset work. So tell me more about your C level. So what does tell me more about how you help your clients.
Yeah, sorry, I got off track there. So the C-type goals, like, my goal was to, just as an example, was to leave my corporate day job, go out on my own, start my business full time. And, what I had tried to do that on my own for like 3.5 years. And it wasn't until I invested in, a proper coach and mentor, that what I had tried for 3.5 years, I was able to accomplish in less than 3 months with a coach. And so then I just, even though, like, I started with the physical aspects of health and wellness, but where I landed are with the mental, just because you can help so many more people.
95% of how you bring out the physical, right? So
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah, 95% of our success is mindset. Like whatever you
mindset,
deem
yeah.
is successful is mindset. So that's where I encourage people to go, right? With the C-type goal setting is because my circumstances, I was married when I started. I'm now a single mom to three. But even when I was married, I carried the weight of the finances. Like my husband didn't work at the time. I had the health insurance. Like, so the circumstances on the outside, what I, could see, hear, smell, taste, and touch with my senses, it told me like, you're crazy. Like,
Right.
why are you doing this? And so that's where I love working with clients on this high level goal setting, because it's just meant to bring more of who, like your capabilities. Like, I believe like we're all here to create, like we're all creative beings.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just about expressing yourself on the highest level possible. Um, I often say to clients, like, really ask yourself, like, how far can you take this?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how far do you want to take your life? Like, what do you want? Like, what do you really want? And build this kind of illogical, image of yourself that might seem illogical to, your current reality, but like sky's the limit.
Yeah. So I'm the type of person that is very logical, but I also have that imaginary, realm to my mental capacity. But I'm also an engineer by trade. So engineers are known for, coming up with different solutions to problems and having a step-by-step process on how you're going to get there. So very like methodical in where when you're talking about those C-level goals, it reminds me like I have done that, and I do have some right now as well that I'm working on.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because if you don't have the how, you do need kind of that external support to say, ask you the right questions so that you can think differently, do things differently, get external support so that you can get to that spot, that higher level goal.
Yep, exactly. It's funny, I didn't know that about you before we talked. And in my background, I was like, I'm a producer by heart and by trade. Like that was my, like, I had a lot, I was in management, upper management, whatnot, but I'm a producer. And so I produced events and TV shows, blah, blah, all of that. And that's the same thing. Like I always, whenever anyone would say like, well, what does that mean to be a producer, is it's the person that has the answers and has a plan when all else fails.
Yeah.
And so I always say like, I used to get paid really well to plan like literally to the 10th degree of scenarios that we might not even ever have to use.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a big shift for me too. Different obviously than engineering, but very methodical. Like I'm a Capricorn, like I'm very like, which everything is very black and white, but I do have the Libra as my rising.
I'm a Gemini, so I can be a little bit of like two sparks.
Yep. My daughter's a Gemini. I totally get that.
They're sometimes unpredictable, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Like keeps everybody on their toes.
Yep. Exactly. Yep. But so I totally get that. And so that's why coaching and mentorship, you guys, like, I mean, if you can, it's so important because you come from someone else's level of awareness. And again, which can help you close the gap, right? From where you are to where you want to go. And so I still invest in coaching, because it's never over, right? The growth is never over. And so that's been the biggest game changer is being able to, like, you don't have to only come from your level of awareness. You can come from someone who has done it before.
Yeah. And if you look at any professional athlete, Olympian, they all have coaches. Like even if they were born, like look at Connor McDavid, there's a lot of like Edmontonians in our audience that just watch the Oilers get kicked out of the playoffs, but he is amazing, but he has so many different coaches and he has mindset coaches for how he shows up mentally and, the physical aspect and all of that. And to get you to be better than you ever imagined, it's you need that external help, and it's so powerful. And I've invested in coaching for the last 7 years, and it's amazing how much it's transformed my life.
Mhm. Mhm.
And
Yeah,
I will keep that up for sure. So
absolutely.
we're getting towards the end of our live show, Haley.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you want to leave our audience with, like maybe any tips or anything that to think about?
Yeah. I mean, I think the first thing that comes to mind is, you know, you have everything that you need inside of you
Mm-hmm.
already,
Yeah.
right? Like we all have this ability to create whatever it is that we want to be, do, have, whatever it is that we want. And just know like that is our innate ability. Like it is our power. And so, yeah, I mean, you already have it. Like sometimes it just takes, opening up and someone else to kind of to show you the way. So just know that you already have it, and it's not as far away as it might feel. Like when you do
Mm-hmm.
this high level goal setting, it doesn't have to take a year even, or 3 years or 5 years, like it can happen very quickly, when you really surrender to the process and open up. So
Yeah, and that word's so powerful, surrendering, because
mhm.
we typically have, especially moms, I've noticed, have like this
Mhm.
controlling type. And when you really just surrender and go with the flow of life,
Yeah,
everything comes with more ease and
yeah,
it's a lot more fun. And same
absolutely.
thing with anything you do in life. So,
Yeah,
it was so great
exactly.
to have you on the call today, Haley. Where can our audience find you?
Yeah. So I think, Instagram, Facebook. I'm at Haley K. Carlson. My website is haleyshealth.net.
Okay.
It is being updated right now, but yeah, everything was linked through social media. LinkedIn is great as well. And so, yeah, any of the main social channels. And then I do have my Facebook group is Haley's Health, Mind, Body, Soul. So yeah, you can check it out there too if you're interested.
Okay. And then maybe we'll drop some of those links in the comments for those viewers that didn't have time to write
Awesome.
it down. And we
Awesome.
just had so many great advice. Thank you. So thanks for watching live. And for those watching the replay, thanks for watching. And we'll see you all next week. Bye.
Awesome. Bye.